I'm 28 years old, and I have an older sister, Olivia, who's 31. Honestly, she hasn't really got her life together, but for some reason, our parents treat her like she's the golden child. Ever since we were kids, Olivia has had this idea in her head that I'm out to steal her thunder or something. Because of that, she's pretty much dedicated her life to one-upping me in everything. Let me break it down for you. It's not just the typical brother-sister rivalry where you might argue over who gets the last piece of cake or something. This goes way deeper. If I decided to learn something new and cool like archery, the next thing I know, Olivia is strutting around school with her own bow and arrows, telling everyone she's into archery too. And it didn't stop at hobbies. If I ever mentioned in my diary that I liked a guy, bam, she'd be all over him the very next day, flirting like there was no tomorrow. And it wasn't just about boys and hobbies. Even when I decided to eat healthier and exercise more, Olivia would suddenly become all about that healthy life as well, copying my diet and workout routine to a T. It was like whatever I did, she had to do it too. But not in a fun, let's share interests kind of way. More like, I've got to do everything you do and be in all your friend groups. So yeah, if I made a new friend, you could bet Olivia would be right there trying to become their best friend too. So here's the thing. Olivia had this habit of copying me to the point where it felt like she was always trying to be better than me at everything I did. This whole copycat game started to really bug me because it felt like I couldn't have anything that was just mine. I tried talking to my parents about how much this bothered me, but they didn't get it. They would just say stuff like, "Oh, sisters copy each other all the time. It's normal." And they made it seem like I was being silly for wanting to keep some of my interests just to myself. But the real problem wasn't about copying. It was about how I felt like I couldn't have my own space to enjoy the things I liked without Olivia turning it into some sort of competition. It wasn't fun for me. I didn't want to be in a constant battle over who could do something better. I just wanted to chill and do my thing. But Olivia always had to make everything into this big deal where she had to outdo me. To make things even more annoying, it seemed like my parents were always cheering for Olivia, even when I was the one who really cared about whatever we were doing. They would never miss any event or thing Olivia was part of, even if it meant taking time off work. But when it was my turn, suddenly their schedules were too packed, and my stuff didn't seem to matter as much to them. It felt like they were always making a bigger fuss over her achievements and kind of just brushing mine aside. All right, let me tell you how Olivia enjoyed being the center of attention all the time. She used every chance she got to rub it in my face how much our parents seemed to favor her over me. She'd whisper mean things to me when we were near our parents, and if I showed any sign of getting upset, she'd act all innocent, pretending she didn't know why I was bothered. But when we were alone, she'd be even meaner, telling me I should just disappear because nobody would even notice I was gone. Olivia would also tell me to stop being sad about always being in second place to her in everything. But her mean behavior didn't stop with just words. She actually bullied me physically at school a bunch of times. She'd do things like trip me on purpose where everyone could see or hit me, then say it was just a dare from her friends. When my teachers noticed what was happening, they called in my parents to talk about it. They were so serious, they even mentioned suspending me. My parents would tell the school that this was just sibling stuff, and they deal with it at home. But at home, Olivia would twist the story, making it seem like. From the beginning, it seemed like I was the troublemaker, and Olivia's reactions were a result of my actions. Olivia had a talent for turning everything upside down, especially when it involved me. Our parents, bless their hearts, seemed to have blinders on whenever Olivia was involved. Even when she did something outrageously mean, they turned a blind eye. If ever they came close to questioning her actions, Olivia could turn on the waterworks like nobody's business. She'd sob and claim that I was fabricating tales out of sheer jealousy. Unfortunately, this defense worked every single time. My friends, who were true troopers through all of this, began calling Olivia out on her nasty behavior towards me. This seemed to be the cue for Olivia to kick things up a notch. She started concocting elaborate stories complete with self-inflicted bruises or strategically placed bandages. Olivia then went around telling everyone that these were the results of my supposed attacks on her. Trying to defend myself against Olivia's web of lies felt like trying to climb a mountain with no gear. She was relentless, weaving her tales to anyone who listened, anyone I'd ever spoken to, laughed with, or dared to develop a crush on. Her aim was to make them see me through her twisted lens. The result? My high school experience was less about learning and growing and more about surviving Olivia's campaign of terror. Just when I thought it couldn't get worse, it did. After Olivia finished high school and took a gap year due to low grades for college admission, I was ready to start my own college journey. Through hard work and maybe a sprinkle of luck, I landed enough scholarships to cover my tuition. I was proud, relieved even. But then the bombshell dropped. In a casual conversation, my parents let slip that they had been saving up for both our college funds. Since I didn't need my share, they decided to funnel everything, including the money earmarked for me, into Olivia's bottomless pit of needs. There it was, the harsh truth laid bare. My efforts to be independent and financially responsible had inadvertently given my parents the green light to use resources meant for me to further indulge Olivia. It was a revelation that stung more than I cared to admit, a stark reminder of the imbalance that had colored our sibling rivalry and my parents' favoritism from the start. When my parents laid out the red carpet for Olivia, telling her she could pick any major she fancied, it felt like a slap in the face. But the real kicker came when I discovered that my parents were planning to allocate all the college savings, including the stash intended for me, to Olivia. I was furious. I tried reasoning with them, suggesting that we keep my college fund separate for potential future needs like starting a business or even for my wedding. However, the conversation didn't go as planned. They hit me with the "it's our money, and we'll spend it how we like" speech, insisting that Olivia needed it more than I did. Despite my attempts to argue, they weren't receptive and told me it was time to learn to fend for myself. That night, I cried myself to sleep, feeling like no matter what I did, Olivia would always be the golden child, and I'd remain a mere family footnote. As college move-in day approached, I packed up my life, making sure I took everything to avoid any reason to return home. Predictably, my parents didn't lift a finger to help me move. Their absence had become more expected than shocking by then. During those low moments, feeling like I was on my own, I crossed paths with Adam at one of the college's welcome events. He was like a ray of sunshine piercing through the clouds of my gloomy world. His kindness and easygoing smile were genuinely uplifting. Meeting Adam felt like turning a new leaf, leaving behind the stifling air of my family drama for something, or rather someone, incredibly uplifting. As time went on, Adam became an amazing friend, always there for me like a rock. He listened without making me feel bad, providing comfort when everything felt overwhelming. Around Christmas, when my parents were hosting a big party and wanted me to come home, the idea of dealing with the drama alone was unappealing. So I decided to bring Adam along, thinking it would be the perfect time for my family to meet him. I informed my folks in advance, letting them know that Adam and I would stay in our own space but join everyone for the big dinner. When we showed up, I could tell my parents were taken aback to see Adam. Their old-school views led to snap judgments based on appearances. But I was prepared. I had filled Adam in on my family, and he charmed everyone with his usual charisma, even catching my mom off guard with a bouquet of flowers. That night, Adam became the star of the show, dropping clever jokes and being his awesome self. He won everyone over with his friendliness, making a sweet speech thanking my parents for letting him join our family gathering. It was cool to see my cousins jokingly ask if he had any brothers, and I was genuinely glad to witness everyone taking to my boyfriend so well. However, I couldn't help but notice Olivia looking extremely annoyed, brewing in her own anger as the evening progressed. Olivia started drinking excessively and whispered things to some of our relatives. It was evident that she wasn't happy about Adam being there and seemed to be plotting something. Right in the middle of dinner, she blurted out loudly, asking me if Adam and I were serious. The sudden question made everyone stop and look at us. Without hesitation, I grabbed Adam's hand and affirmed that we were indeed serious about each other. However, Olivia, with a smug look on her face, suggested that maybe I should consider being with someone who fits our family's traditions better, implying that Adam wasn't a good match because he was different. Her comment was not only rude but also racist, making many people at the dinner feel uncomfortable due to her openly judgmental behavior. Trying to act sneaky, Olivia suggested that I should think about how different our cultures were, essentially implying that I should be with someone who aligns better with our family's way of doing things. Hearing her say that infuriated me, and I was about to let her have it. However, Adam, who didn't seem bothered by her mean words, just smiled and calmly told her that he's as American as anyone else in the room because he was born here. He shared that his great-grandparents came to America a long time ago and that his family has always taught him to respect all different cultures and beliefs. While I was upset that Adam had to defend himself to my family, the way he handled Olivia's nasty remarks only strengthened my certainty that he was the perfect guy for me. After Adam stood up for himself, nobody was thinking too highly of Olivia. People didn't appreciate how she tried to call out my boyfriend in front of everyone. For the rest of the evening, Olivia sat by herself, looking angry and sipping on her drink. Especially after we all went back to college, I was so fed up with her behavior that I sent her a lengthy text, expressing my embarrassment to call her my sister and hoping she would stay out of my life. I didn't even want people to know we were related. She responded with a short text that simply said, "Same here, since that big argument." I haven't spoken to Olivia at all. Adam and I successfully completed college and now both hold excellent jobs. 3 years ago, we decided to tie the knot. I invited my parents to the wedding, but made it clear that Olivia wasn't welcome. Despite my mom's attempts to change my mind, I wanted our wedding to be truly special and extravagant. My parents were quite shocked by how amazing everything looked. My mom was blown away, and my dad, who typically doesn't say much, remained silent throughout the ceremony. Our guests, including friends and Adam's family, got to meet my parents. It didn't take long for everyone to notice the stark contrast in wealth between Adam's family and mine. After the wedding, my parents approached me, expressing surprise at the amount spent on the event and the wealth of Adam's family. My mom was curious about how we could afford such an extravagant wedding, and I assured her that Adam and I were doing well for ourselves. I wanted them to understand that our decision to get married wasn't solely based on financial considerations. Looking back, I realize it might have been a mistake to disclose so much about our financial situation to my parents. 2 years ago, my parents unexpectedly reached out for help. They explained that my dad had retired and they had depleted their savings on home renovations. They asked if I could lend them a hand with money, a surprising request considering their usual behavior. Despite feeling like I didn't quite fit in with my family, it felt somewhat comforting to be the one they turned to. They requested $3,000 every month, which would cover their bills and increasing medical costs as they aged. At that time, I was doing well at work, and Adam and I were in a good financial position. Without much hesitation, I agreed, considering it my duty to assist my parents in their time of need. When Adam learned about the substantial monthly contribution, he was taken aback. He pointed out that $3,000 was a significant amount for them to request. Despite the financial strain, Adam and I were determined to help my parents, making the monthly transfers a routine. I never delved into the specifics of how they were using the funds during this period. I started feeling like there was an improvement in my relationship with my parents. Although I wasn't certain whether their niceness was genuine or just a reaction to the financial support they were receiving, it seemed like we were genuinely connecting. I entertained the idea of letting go of our challenging past and beginning anew, hoping for a happier future together. However, 2 weeks ago, my phone exploded with calls from them right in the middle of an incredibly busy workday. Aware of my packed schedule, the numerous missed calls raised concerns, making me rush to call them back. My dad was on the other end, requesting me to visit their place urgently for an important conversation. Despite feeling worn out after a long day at work, I agreed, curious about the nature of their request. That evening, I showed up at their doorstep, feeling a mix of fatigue and curiosity. They both appeared nervous, escalating my worry. When I inquired about their well-being, they began the conversation by expressing gratitude for the financial support I had been providing. Bewildered, I sat there as my mom disclosed some unexpected news. She revealed that my sister Olivia, whom I didn't even know was married, was attempting to start a family. Olivia had been struggling with infertility for a considerable period, and her journey had been challenging. After facing a miscarriage, Olivia was now exploring IVF, a costly medical procedure. They needed $25,000 to cover the expenses, and then they looked at me, expecting something. They conveyed that, being Olivia's sister, it was my responsibility to contribute and support her. They emphasized the idea of family standing together in times of need. Listening to their request, I was completely taken aback. The notion that I should provide such a substantial amount for Olivia, especially considering our turbulent relationship, was mind-boggling. I reminded them of the strained dynamic between Olivia and me, emphasizing the difficulties she had caused during our upbringing. The idea of contributing such a significant sum just didn't make sense to me. My parents didn't appreciate my response. They argued that, as Olivia's sister, it was somehow my duty to help her conceive a child. They even suggested that, since I didn't have children of my own, the least I could do was assist in bringing a grandchild into the family to foster reconciliation. I expressed my sympathy for Olivia's struggles, but made it clear that I wouldn't simply hand over money as a gift. I offered to lend her the $25,000, but insisted on a legal contract outlining the terms of repayment. This suggestion angered my parents, who yelled at me, deeming it rude to consider making Olivia sign a contract when I had ample money at my disposal. According to my mom, I was being selfish, and Olivia needed the money more than I did. Frustrated by their accusations, I asserted that I had worked hard for my money, had my own life and bills to attend to, and couldn't give away a substantial portion of my savings to someone who had mistreated me and with whom I hadn't communicated in ages. I made it clear that if they weren't okay with my conditions, they shouldn't expect further financial support from me. After my firm statement, my parents began yelling, claiming that my attitude was precisely why they had an issue with me, accusing me of always acting too proud and believing I was better than everyone else. Their sudden change in demeanor shocked me, considering their earlier pleas for money. Despite their attempt to make me feel guilty, I remained steadfast in my decision. However, suspicion crept in, prompting me to investigate the money I had been sending them. I excused myself to go to the bathroom, but instead, I quickly went to my parents' bedroom and found my dad's phone charging on the nightstand. Unable to ignore the bad feeling in my gut, I decided to look at his phone. What I discovered left me utterly shocked. Messages revealing that my dad had been sending $1,800 every month to my sister for the past 2 years. It felt like a massive betrayal, and the real issue was not just about the money. It was the fact that they had deceived and manipulated my feelings for 2 whole years. Overwhelmed by the revelation, I went back to confront my parents, not bothering to hide the hurt caused by their betrayal. I asked them directly what they had been doing with the $3,000 I sent them every month. Caught off guard, they stumbled over their words, attempting to figure out what to say. Unable to wait for an explanation, I confronted them about sending $1,800 every month to my sister. Their faces went pale, and after a few seconds of silence, they admitted to diverting a significant portion of the money. I sent Olivia their excuse was that she genuinely needed the money, and as her parents, they couldn't bear to see her struggle. Hearing this excuse infuriated me, and I questioned them about their disregard for my well-being. I asked them if they didn't think it was wrong to lie and take my money for 2 years. Their defense was based on Olivia's financial struggles, emphasizing that my sister and her husband didn't earn much. They tried to justify their actions by claiming that, given my lavish wedding and well-paying job, they believed taking money from me wouldn't significantly impact me. They even mentioned that it was initially Olivia's idea, but they went along with it, thinking they were doing the best for their kids. However, this only intensified my feelings of anger and disappointment. At that point, I had reached my limit. I declared that I wouldn't provide them with any more financial support and that I was done backing them financially. My parents responded with desperation and anger, insisting that I couldn't just stop helping the family when they needed me. I laughed off their pleas and left their house, experiencing a mix of emotions, including anger, sadness, and a sense of relief. Now, as I write this, my parents persistently call and beg me to reconsider, assuring me they won't take any more money if I don't completely cut them off. Despite their attempts to guilt-trip me, I stand firm in my decision. Update 1. I am incredibly grateful for the supportive messages I've received. The guilt from my family has weighed on me, but having someone as amazing as Adam in my life means a lot. I appreciate that people are finally listening to my childhood stories and believing them. Discussing this has been challenging, with some thinking I'm exaggerating, so thank you to everyone I've talked to. Adam is equally upset about my parents deceiving me, and we've decided not to let this happen again, regardless of their current circumstances. Meanwhile, my parents continue to call and text, apologizing, attempting to make me feel guilty, and begging me to change my mind. However, I remain steadfast in my decision to cut off contact with them. Update 2. It's been about 2 weeks since my last update, and something unexpected happened. Out of the blue, Olivia, my stepsister, messaged me. I was surprised because I didn't even know she had my number. Instead of apologizing, she sent me a mean and lengthy text, calling me selfish and childish, expressing her long-standing dislike for me. She even went so far as to label me a gold digger, making baseless accusations. Olivia claimed that I only married Adam for his money and insisted that I should share my wealth with our family because, well, we're family. She expressed regret for not being meaner to me during our childhood, hoping that it would have left a lasting impression on me. Reading her hurtful words brought back all the negative memories from my past, and I couldn't help but cry. When I showed Adam the message, he became furious and decided to take matters into his own hands. Adam initiated a group chat on Messenger with my parents, Olivia, and several relatives and cousins. He shared screenshots of Olivia's message and exposed the lies my parents and Olivia had been telling me for the past 2 years, including the bullying I endured during our childhood. The revelation sparked an intense response from our relatives, who were shocked by my parents' actions and appalled by Olivia's deceitfulness. In subsequent calls with family members, I disclosed more details about how my parents were diverting $1,800 every month to Olivia from the funds I believed were intended for them. The pressure from our relatives embarrassed my parents, who reached out, pleading with me to delete the group chat and pretend it never happened. However, Adam stood firm, refusing to let them off the hook. He warned them that any attempt to ask us for money again would result in legal action, hiring the best lawyers to take them to court. This threat scared them, and they refrained from contacting me. Other family members informed me that my parents were deeply ashamed, especially after addressing Olivia's actions. Despite their apologies and newfound awareness, I decided to keep them out of my life, focusing on happiness with Adam away from the drama. Update 3. I want to express my gratitude for the incredible support you've all provided. The overwhelming encouragement has been amazing, prompting Adam and me to consider seeking therapy to navigate the challenging emotions surrounding my decision to cut ties with my parents and the betrayal by my family. The silence from my parents and Olivia, following Adam's stern warning, assures me that they are too scared to reach out. Moving forward, I aim to prioritize self-care and concentrate on the positive aspects of my life, particularly my time with Adam. While challenges may arise, I remain hopeful that, with the right support, things will improve. I hope this will be the final update on this matter.